So, did you know that 30 to 40% of all giving to nonprofit organizations takes place in the last 6 weeks of the calendar year? You see, most nonprofits treat this time of year like a sprint as opposed to a strategy for the greater good. See, instead of being so concerned about how you close December, you should be concerned about how you tee up January through June. Year end giving, why it is so important now more than you think. That is our focus. Let's huddle up. Hey, welcome to another episode of Huddle Up with Mark, the Fun Coach. I'm Mark Duncan. Before we get started, I certainly want to take a moment to ask you to please like and subscribe this video if you're watching this on YouTube. If you are listening to this, let your friends and neighbors, and especially colleagues in the nonprofit space, know about this podcast because I want to make sure this information is getting out to as many organizations as possible. Also, I have this free resource that you can grab for yourself called Five Habits of Executive Directors Who Land Big Gifts. It's a PDF. It's been very popular over these last couple of weeks, and I would certainly encourage you to grab a copy. You may do so by hitting the link below, or if you're getting the notification about this podcast via email, you will see it at the bottom of the email to get your copy there. All right, so let's talk about this. It's that time of year, right? We are in the early part of November. We are approaching Thanksgiving, which means we're approaching the end of the calendar year. And this is that sweet spot. This is that period of time where giving takes place the most. And it's probably why you are planning on or are engaged in a giving campaign of some sort, right? Perhaps you are in the beginning of an email campaign or a direct mail campaign with an email companion, which is how direct mail campaigns should be. Side note, if you want to make sure that you have a solid direct mail campaign, make sure you have good email addresses for all of your constituents that you have snail mail addresses for. In fact, it's super important that you have all four pieces of information when it comes to your constituents: name, address, phone number, email. And that phone number should be a mobile number that gives you the option to engage in any text messaging that could be helpful in growing interest in your organization, and more important, could be an opportunity for giving. Now, I'm focused on year-end giving from a transactional perspective first, and then we're going to talk about a major gift perspective. So, first, let's talk about the transactional aspect of it. As I mentioned, you might be engaged in a year end campaign, whether it's direct mail or email. You may be teeing up for Giving Tuesday, which is the first Tuesday after Thanksgiving. All good things to be focused on. But it's good for you to be clear about your constituents and data as you enter into this time of year. So, for example, if you have um, donors who are have you have screened, and if you have not screened your donors, this is the time to be doing it. And it may be a little late for you to subscribe to this, but I would encourage you to, if you're going to do it right away. And that is to subscribe to a wealth screening service. The one that I am most associated with and that I promote, push, endorse wholeheartedly is Windfall. Windfall is a fantastic resource for wealth screening. It has helped 95% of my clients identify people that are right under their nose who have significant capacity. In fact, Windfall is the only wealth screening platform that will tell you the net worth of individuals. And so if you want information about Windfall, that is also in the one of the links below. If you click that link, you will be able to sign up for a wealth analytics report, which is totally free. And because you're using my link, if you subscribe to Windfall, you actually will get a discount as a result of that. So I encourage you to do that. Also, a bonus link that will be below is actually from Windfall. And it is from a gentleman by the name of Kyle Curry, who is from Windfall, who gives you some great tips on what to do and how to use Windfall's data, which is your data, to prepare for year end giving, especially for Giving Tuesday. So check that out as well. Lots of good information below this week. And that will also be in the email that goes out with this, the announcement about this episode. So, because giving is so popular in the last 6 weeks of the year, because people want to give before the end of the year, whether it's for tax purposes or not, right? That's a whole nother story. But the key here is people want to support something that is important to them. And usually it's this time of year where they're feeling grateful for what you do as a mission, and especially if you've done something that has impacted them. And so it's really, really important that you're paying attention to giving this time of year. So as you're preparing your campaigns, it's important to look at your data. Take a look and see what the trends are. What percentage of your constituents, what percentage of your donors are giving in the last 6 weeks of the year or in December? Take a look at that. And then once you identify those people, it's important to see where there may be high capacity prospects that have not been giving major gifts. So, in other words, you may be getting $150, $200 from someone every year, and you haven't really taken a deep dive into your data to find out who among them has capacity. Now, if you do that now, you can actually solicit them in a different way now. They're already giving to you. They already know your organization. They may just not know you personally as a leader. So, this is an opportunity for you to reach out to them directly. Send them an email, pick up the phone, and schedule a time to meet with them. Because this could be an opportunity for you to take that $250 gift and convert it into a $1,000 gift, which now tees you up for next year, because now you have already, in that short period of time, converted them from a transactional giver into a relational donor. And now the objective is for them to make a transformational gift. So don't overlook, right? We get so focused on closing out December strong. We get focused on not only closing out in terms of giving, but we get focused on making sure that we end the year in the black, especially if your fiscal year is January to December. So whether you're trying to close out the year or close out Q2 or whatever quarter this is, depending on your fiscal year, don't be so focused on the numbers as you should be on the opportunities that are before you to build relationships with people who have been giving to your organization for a very long time, that have the capacity to do much more than they've been giving. See, so often, and I've talked about this in previous episodes, when we look at the giving patterns of our donors, we assume that that's telling the whole story. especially if we're only looking at those people who have given transactionally. And what I mean by that is they've given as a result of a transactional ask, whether that is a direct mail appeal, an email appeal, Giving Tuesday, or any other 24-hour giving day that you are engaged in. It's transactional. It is not based on you personally asking that person personally for a gift. You are asking a blanket ask to an entire constituency, and you're asking people to give. And you'll be able to predict those who are going to give. Look at the consistency when you look at your data, right? How many people are giving in that last month of the year? How many people have given in the last month of the year consecutively for 5 years or more? Those are your loyals. And now you combine your loyals with your the fact that they're giving in December, and then you do wealth screening and you find that they have capacity. Well, now you can see your December numbers actually increase, and you can start to shift your major donors into giving at other times during the year. See, ideally, it would be great to create philanthropic cash flow that is consistent and sustainable throughout the 12 months. And that should happen when you engage in recurring giving. So if you have the ability and you're able to secure monthly gifts, monthly recurring gifts that are automatic, well, now you're starting to see your philanthropic support spread out over the course of the fiscal year. And guess what? Those people who are part of your recurring giving program, whatever you name it, will make an extra gift at the end of the year. And just because you have a major gift prospect or a major gift donor who is a recurring gift donor doesn't mean that you cannot approach them for a major gift before the end of the year. So many of us are afraid, well, they're already giving. I'm not going to bother them. It cannot hurt to ask, especially if you have built trust with that particular donor, which means that they are in relationship with the organization through you. You're updating them, you're giving them information about new programs, you're asking for advice about new initiatives. Perhaps you're getting them involved as a volunteer. You're bringing them closer to the organization. Yet they're still a recurring gift donor, yet they still may respond to an email campaign or a Giving Tuesday initiative, which is fine. But then you can also talk to them about a 5-figure or 6-figure gift. And that is for operations. I'm not talking about a capital campaign necessarily. These are the kinds of gifts that you can be getting every single year from those donors who have capacity, who would be willing to do that if you ask them. So, as we approach this time of year, you should be looking strategically at your donor base. Yes, you have a goal to hit by December 31st. Yes, especially the last 3 or 4 days in the year, you may see an influx of gifts coming in online because people are trying to get those gifts in before the end of the year, especially those who do benefit from the tax benefit. But this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity for you to shift into being more strategic about how you move your donors from being transactional givers to relational donors who will ultimately make transformational gifts. That's the whole idea of this. When we talk about fundraising, we tend to silo it. Oh, we're going to talk about the annual fund, or we're going to talk about direct mail. We're going to talk about events. We're going to talk about grants. We're going to talk about uh, recurring gifts, right? All of those things, with the exception of grants, should all be feeding a funnel, if you will, of individuals that you can begin to nurture and get to know, and then identify those who are going to give in a significant way. You see, for some of your constituents and some of your donors, the annual fund is it, at least for now, because that is what they have the capacity to do. But in the lifetime of a donor who continues to advance in their career, and they're able to generate more revenue, which means they have more to give, and you bring them closer to the organization. And yes, there's going to be some ebbs and flows in there, but they're going to appreciate the connection, the effort that you make to get to know them, and they will give if they are asked and they are ready. See, we're so focused on what's in front of us right now, and that is closing out December 31st strong, that we tend to lose sight of the bigger picture. You are the leader of an organization that hopefully will be around for years to come. Your job right now is to make sure that you are not only operating and making sure that your organization is strong now, but that you are teeing it up for success in the future. And that, from a philanthropic perspective, is you building relationships with individuals who have capacity, who can make significant gifts, and who will do so for a long period of time. And if you continue to do this and do it strategically and not treat fundraising as a separate siloed activities, and understand that it's all working together. Once you make that shift, you will start to see and feel the funds that will come into your organization in a way that you couldn't even imagine, because you've taken the steps to make sure that you connect the dots. Somebody comes in as a small gift donor during Giving Tuesday, then you're going to make sure that you stay connected with them throughout the year. And I'm not talking about a $50, yes, somebody who gives $50, yeah, they're coming in, they're giving for the first time. You want to make sure they give again. That improves your donor retention. But you also want to make sure you're taking a good look at them, because somebody who gives $50, $100 may have the capacity to do 1,000. And the only way you know that is by making sure that you have the four critical pieces of information: name, address, phone number, email, so that you can get all the information that you need about their capacity. And then those are the people that you focus on transferring, converting from being a transactional giver into a relational donor. And if you're not doing that, if you're leaving the annual fund people over here and you're saying to yourself, well, wait a minute, I got to find major donors. I don't know where to look. Look in your own backyard. And what I mean by that is look at your database. Look at your base of individual givers who have been giving in a very small way. And you're probably wondering, well, wait a minute, if I've got millionaires that are part of my donor base, well, why aren't they giving me more money? Why aren't they giving us, 5 and 6-figure gifts? I'll tell you why. They don't know you, and you don't know them. And until you take the bold step of connecting with them on a personal level, building a relationship with them, talking about your organization, learning about them and what is important to them about what you do, and then ultimately asking for that 5 and 6-figure gift, it's not going to happen. So you've got to be strategic. Fundraising is a combination. I used to say this many years ago, and I haven't said it in a while, but it is an art and a science. It's an art and a science. The science is working through the process that is pretty predictable, that gets your donors from being transactional to relational to making those transformational gifts. That's, you can buy my course, the Relationship Fundraising Academy Master Course. You can learn all about the science. You'll also learn a little bit about the art too, and that is the actual connecting and the relationship building aspect of this. That is not cookie cutter, it is not rote. It is very, very personal. It's not the same for every single donor. See, sometimes we create this archetype of someone who is rich, and we think that all rich people think and move the same way. And that's not the case. I will tell you that anybody, whether they have capacity or not, they're not going to invest in something significant without knowing more about it. So they're not going to make a major gift unless they know more about you as a leader and about your organization and about what you're doing for the people that you serve. So as we approach this time of year and we're closing out the calendar year, we have these last 6 weeks of the year, which again, 30 to 40% of all gifts that come in during the year are coming in during this time. Got to be strategic about it. Take a look at your donors, learn about their behaviors from what you can tell from a data perspective. Identify those people who have the capacity to make a major gift, and you do that through wealth screening. And then you might pick up the phone and give them a call and ask them for a larger gift as the year ends. And that gives you an opportunity to build a relationship with them going into the next year. I hope this has been helpful to you. I get extremely passionate about fundraising, especially this time of year. We get into this giving mode. And by the way, you should be thinking about year end giving immediately after Labor Day. As soon as Labor Day is over, you should be shifting into year end giving mode, especially from a major gifts perspective. That's when you should be studying your data. That's when you should be familiar with your trends. And that's when you should be getting out there and meeting with people who have capacity to increase their giving from a transactional gift to a gift that comes as a result of a relationship with you, which tees you up for years and years to come. So I wish you all the best of luck as you approach the end of the year. and make sure that you are telling the best story that you can. You're connecting with those donors that have significant capacity. You should be connecting with everyone, of course, when you are soliciting them in mass. But you also should be looking at your data to see who are those people who are ready to transition from being a transactional giver into a relational donor. I hope this is helpful. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And as always, this fundraising thing, it's not about the dollars. It's about what the dollars do for the people that you serve. Thanks. And we'll see you next time.